Hey friends, welcome to the basement. I am Wilson, and today I'm going to be reviewing Amazon's show Fallout, which has some big names attached to it. The most interesting of these is one of the executive producers, Jonathan Nolan. Yes, that is Christopher Nolan's brother. In addition to producing, he also directed a few of the episodes in this show, and I think it's fair to say he did his family proud. So, what's the current track record for adaptations that are based off of video games? I mean, it's getting better, right? Let's talk about it. This show begins in what looks like the 1950s at a kid's birthday party. Very quickly, we see the beginning of what looks to be some kind of nuclear warfare as bombs are just going off out in the distance. And I mean big-ass mushroom cloud bombs. Complete devastation. We then cut to about 200 years later and meet our protagonist, Lucy. She lives in what is referred to as a vault, Vault 33 to be exact. These vaults are very elaborate fallout shelters that communities are living in, just kind of living out their lives down there. Lucy's vault is raided by some people from the surface. They proceed to then maim and kill a bunch of members of her community and even kidnap her father, who was what the show calls the overseer of her particular vault. Then, against the will and the wishes of her people, she decides to go up to the surface, very determined to find her father. And this is the main storyline of the show. Now, visually, I thought the world of the wastelands up there on the surface was very well done. We get to see other factions of people, like the Brotherhood, who are more or less like the military of the show. But there is all kinds of interesting folk around. Everything is in shambles, and every person looks like they've already got one foot in the grave. A lot of the special effects in this show were pretty well done, especially the practical ones. However, some of the computer-generated effects did stick out quite a bit. Like the giant cockroaches, for example, who will show up several times. In some scenes, they blended in with everything very well. But in others, they look like they were clearly just tacked on there. Another example of this would be the ghoul's nose, or I guess I should say his nasal cavity. There's certain angles where it looks not right. I felt that it was most prominent and sticking out when he was facing the camera head on. When he would turn his head and it would skew a bit, I thought it looked fine. And maybe I'm nitpicking here, but I bring it up because the ghoul has so much screen time and the effect just kept drawing my attention. So other than those few minor squibbles, the aesthetics and the environment and the atmosphere of this show were really good. For the most part, this show is very lighthearted and fun. Lucy has this real, fish out of water thing that's happening to her through almost the whole show. See, the world she comes from down in the vaults where people have rules and manners is very much at odds with life in the wasteland. So a lot of Lucy's interactions with other people turn out to be these weird life lessons that she's learning as she goes. And as she does go, we kind of get to see her evolving and adapting and becoming less naive about life on the surface. Now, that lighthearted tone, that comes with the violence and the action too. Now, don't get me wrong here. The violence in this show is very graphic, but it has this playfulness to it also. Obviously, in a post-apocalyptic world, resources and things are hard to find, including bullets. So people are using guns that can fire anything that they can happen to find as ammunition. I'm pretty sure I seen one person get shot with what looked like a plastic doll's leg. And at one point, one of the main characters is shot with a tooth. My point is, that kind of wackiness tends to kind of take the edge off of things when someone gets their head blown off, literally, or flat out crushed like a melon like they were Oberyn Martell. And honestly, I think this blending of the tones really does work well in the show's favor. I thought the acting in the show was pretty strong, and not just with the three leads either. A lot of the side characters that we meet throughout it were really well done. and believe me, there are a lot of characters in this show. Ella Purnell as Lucy and Walton Goggins as Cooper, or the Ghoul, were easily my favorite. Lucy pretty much goes through a roller coaster of emotions on this show, and Ella portraying all that was nothing short of great. Her character could have easily been annoying or even unlikable, but she held my attention the whole way. And Walton Goggins might have been the perfect casting choice as Cooper. I have been a big fan of his since Tarantino's Hateful Eight. He was actually my favorite character in that movie. Well, maybe not my favorite, but he was awesome nonetheless, and he is awesome in this show too. As the story goes on, we begin to learn the truth about life in these vaults and really what's been going on for the last 200 years. And it's these revelations that kind of give the show more of its backbone beyond just some young girl looking for her father. These are somewhat spoon-fed to us intermittently throughout the show, mostly through flashbacks. There were some times when I did feel the show was dragging a bit, but nothing too egregious. It's just that most of the episodes in the show are about an hour long, so I just felt it's worth mentioning at least. So once all the cards were turned face up and everything was revealed, I felt the climax of the show was, I guess, it was good enough. I wasn't really shocked with anything, and some of the revelations were kind of easy to see coming. And I also felt like I had some questions at the end that went unanswered or even just flat out ignored. But I don't want to write those things off as plot holes, because it looks like there's a very good chance that we will be getting another season of this show, and so another chance for my lingering questions to get answered. So in summary, outside of some small pacing issues and a few effects that stood out, I did think this was a very solid show. It was entertaining and it was fun. I really enjoyed the world that they crafted here. And full disclosure, this is coming from someone who has not played the video games, any of them. So I'm sure there were all kinds of little Easter eggs and references to the games that just went completely unnoticed on my end. With that being said, I'm very curious to hear the opinions of those that have played the games. Did you like this show? Did you think it was faithful to the source material, or did it deviate greatly? I'd like to hear these things. Just let me know down in the comments section. And that is all I have for this one, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please hit those like and subscribe buttons, and I will see you again soon. I'm out of here.